Good morning. I think we're live, Gray.
Yep.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Lely Live webinar series, Ideal Cleaning. I have to excuse us for encountering some technical difficulties getting logged into our streaming system, and we're up and running now. So happy to be with you guys today, and I'm sure we'll cover lots of stuff that'll make it worth the wait. So my name is Gray Prescott. I'm a feed and manure product specialist for Lely North America. That means I support Lely centers, as we would call them. You might know them as Lely dealers across North America to sell Lely feeding and manure cleaning solutions. Today I'm joined with my sidekick Joel Eberhard. He is the same position, a feed and manure product specialist for Lely North America as well. And Joel's on here to help me go through our discussion as we cover a bunch of topics about how Lely sees the world of cleaning dairy barns today. And we have another guest joining us, Mr. Bob Church, who happens to work for a Lely center in New York. Now, the reason I'm going to introduce here in just a sec, Bob,
Sure.
The topics that we're looking to cover today are the differences between a Lely collector and other systems that might clean your barn. So the fact that it's a vacuum-based system, it contributes to cow comfort and a more natural cow flow in the barn, allows us to clean the zones that need cleaning more often and disturb the cows less where it's not necessary, while providing compact installation and convenient operation. So when Joel and I talked about how we're going to discuss these topics, that's why we decided to reach out to Bob. Now, Bob, you're the project manager at Finger Lakes Dairy Services. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you do there.
Yeah, I'm the general manager for Finger Lakes Dairy Services. We cover a good chunk of New York, and we have got some traction with these collectors. When I first started out with them, I had one farm in particular that wanted them, and the guy was literally an aerospace engineer. I thought, well, if anybody can make it work, this guy can make it work. And sure enough, he did. And he had 2 units. And then fast forward a year or so later, I had another large dairy that was interested in them. And, so I just connected those 2 people. And we ended up with 8 collectors in a barn. And that went smoothly as well. So, it's been a good run with it for sure.
That's a great introduction, and we're happy. Joel and I are happy to have you joining us, Bob. When we think about talking with a producer about equipment, we really like the idea of speaking with somebody who helps many producers find how Lely solutions can work on their farm. And so the fact that you're bringing all that firsthand experience, and not just from one producer, but from all the producers that you've helped with this. So it's really great to have you here. Now, guys, I'm going to play a little animation because we're going to start by explaining how the collector works. I think a lot of people watching today are probably familiar with the collector, but in case there's somebody who's saying, what is a collector? What does it even do? Joel and Bob, feel free to join me here as I speak over this animation. I really want to give our watchers an idea of how the machine works. So here we can see an animation of it coming into a dump hole, as we would call it. That's kind of home base for the machine. That's where it's going to charge its battery, and that's where it's going to fill up its water bags. We can see it here docking with the water fill station. It's going to fill its water bags. As we see it drive through the barn, we're going to see it spraying water in front of it to liquefy any dry solids that it finds, and spray behind it so that the floor doesn't dry out between its trips through the barn. So the biggest difference that we're going to see with the collector versus any other automated way of cleaning your barn is that this machine does not push the manure to the end of the barn into a hole. It drives and it picks it up. So that's what this animation we're trying to get across. There could be manure in front of it. After it goes by, there's nothing behind it because that manure is in fact going into the tank. And it's using a vacuum pump to hold the manure there. But it does, the force coming from the drive wheels pushing into the manure is actually a lot of the force to collect it, right? We're spraying behind it. I think, Joel, you had a good anecdote about dry floors that maybe we'll touch on later. I thought that there was value in showing this animation because, as you can see here, this collector is driving through an area with cows in it. Just like in real life, cows can stand there and let it go beside them, as opposed to a blade that's the whole width of the alley that's going to go down and disturb every cow that it passes.
And I think that bears. I think that bears talking about too. And maybe you want to pause this a little bit, but Lely in general, for the products that we have in our portfolio for all the dairy sector, we look at these things a little bit differently and design them such that it's through the lens or the eye of a cow. It is in there, living in their environment. Bob, I don't know about you, but cows don't necessarily like loud, big, large things. So, small things that are autonomous that can live in their environment are probably we think about those a little bit differently lately. Just wanted, you were talking about the size about that, Gray. It's just something that in our DNA is thinking about it from not necessarily a people standpoint, but from a cow standpoint.
Yes, yeah, Joel, you're spot on with that. The narrower width allows us to do some programming to keep it, away from the headlocks during feeding time, and there's some advantages that a bigger machine wouldn't be able to work as well. Yeah.
And one more, and we'll talk over each other through the next hour, which is awesome. Everybody's got a lot to say, and there's some really cool things, but I think the first thing that we talked about when you were explaining the features or benefits or some of the topics we want to cover, Gray, and you did briefly just hit on it in part of this narration, it is a vacuum technology. We tried a lot of different technologies of gathering manure into a vessel, physical ways of beaters, of bars, of ways of collecting, but did settle on the vacuum as a maybe gentler, easier way to get vacuum or to get manure picked up. And from a wear standpoint, it certainly has a bearing on how long the longevity of the collector can work, I think.
Because the moving parts aren't touching the manure.
Right on.
Right.
Yep.
Anyway, you keep play the video some more. We'll keep talking.
So the next good topic I want to touch on is it drives into corners, right? It has a flat front and a round back. My experience has been that it's pretty impressive at how well it does at cleaning out the corners of the barn, actually cleaning every square foot where the cows live. Bob, you visit a lot more farms day to day than I do. How have you found it to be in places like it just showed in the animation when it goes into a corner?
Yeah, I think, as long as our bump stops are right and they're high enough, it does just as it showed. I mean, there's, I got a lot of barns that there's literally no hand scraping at all that has to happen, which is, people that work with, in their barn, especially with alley scrapers, there's always that little bit of scraping that has to happen at the end of the barns a couple times a day. And hopefully it happens a couple times a day, but we all know it doesn't most time. And, this just takes care of that. When we first started them, I wasn't sure, is it going to still require some manual work in some of those tighter spots? And so far, I mean, thank goodness for my guys that program them. They do a great job, and there's almost no hand scraping in these barns.
I think that's awesome. And that's, to me, one of the biggest differences between the Lely Collector and any other way you might consider to clean your barn. To me, it's true automation, and it's very in line with the Lely philosophies for feeding and milking as well. You can see here how it evacuates the tank. It simply turns off the vacuum pump. Luckily, gravity's always on, so out it goes. Sprays water behind it. It's trying to end up so that when it comes back around, it's got kind of an ideal level of moistness on the floor so that it can turn the manure and the bedding into a slurry and pick it up. So that's it for the animation. And I just wanted to give some visuals for those who are joining who are new to the collector, because the three of us know the subject matter very well, and we're probably going to be talking really in depth with it. So I wanted to go back and take that sky high view of it. So with that being said, anybody who's watching, there's capacity for you to add questions to our Q&A. We encourage you to chuck those questions in as we go. We're going to address some as they come up, and then at the end of it, we'll try and knock off any that we have remaining. If no questions come in, then we're going to cover these points up here that we see as the main value propositions of the collector. The first one being vacuum-based cleaning, where here we're talking about the real difference of actually picking up the manure and taking it out of the barn instead of pushing it all to one end. How has it been in your experience, Bob, explaining that to new customers or potential customers? Is this idea like it's kind of different than what people might traditionally, the tried and true scraping, whether it be on a tractor or with an automatic scraper? Here we're going to a different approach. How's that received?
Yeah, no, it's been received well. We did a couple startups, and guys would ask me, do we start up a milking robots? The guys would ask, do you want the collectors running? And the first time I said, no, I don't think I do. Let's just not get too crazy. And then the second one I did, I said, sure, turn them on. Worst case scenario, we'll turn them off, right? If the cows go get freaking out. But, that never happened. I mean, the cows, they didn't really react. They just kind of walk around them and sniff them and lick them like cows do. But, we turned them on right at the beginning, and they're still running today. So I was surprised by that. I thought maybe the cows would bunch down at the end of the barn and something like that, but it didn't happen. And now we just, I want them running every startup. So it's, it's the vacuum, the noise, it's not overcoming, it's you can hear it, but it's not like, you got to wear earplugs. And the cows.
It's not like a shop vacuum running down the barn, vacuuming up the manure. It's
right.
Really a kind of a low power vacuum pump.
Yeah, just like a low hum, and doesn't seem to affect the cows at all. So.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of touches on, I guess, what will be our first question of the day. I don't know if this is visible or not.
Yep. Major differences between a Discovery and collector besides the vacuum.
Besides the vacuum.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's really the biggest difference, of course. We've had the Discovery scraper out for a very long time, but that was designed mostly for slatted floors. Now, there were some cases where it, because we didn't have anything else, that was modified to be on a solid floor. But that's the difference. Is the collector is designed for solid flooring, and the Discovery scraper is for slats. And each of them have their own function, but the collector is a vacuum, and the Discovery by itself is just a scraper.
Yep. Yeah. It's 1 foot wider, I think, than the Discovery. Like the Discovery 90, if that's what this question is asking. So it's 4 feet wide. And it's heavier. But besides that, very much the same type of machine, idea of machine. It's a simple 2-wheel powered machine with a squeegee on the front. In our case, that squeegee guides the manure into a collection hole, whereas the other one simply pushes it down between the slats. Those are the big differences. But I guess also, Joel, we shouldn't take away from the credit of the collector does actually have a powerful board that controls the navigation, has a slightly more sophisticated software. So the old Discovery, for instance, is going to run every step in its programmed route as programmed, and if it doesn't get back, it's lost. Mm-hmm. The collector has more of an idea of where it is in the barn while it's running, and it will try and find a way, if it encounters an obstacle, to make its way back to its dump station.
Yeah,
I find it to be a little more reliable than the old ones. Bob, I don't know if you ever had any of the original Discovery scrapers.
Oh yeah, we have a few farms that have them or had them. You know, what we've found is that you know, the reliability of the Discovery 90, you know, it works, but it doesn't do a great job even on a slatted floor. We're not all that excited about it, and I got farms interested in putting collectors in to replace the Discoveries,
which has been done. There's a few farms that have done that.
Yeah,
just turn off the vacuum pump and because it is bigger, like you said, Gray, you know, so 1.2 meter versus 0.9. It can cover more space, so probably fewer units and probably get better coverage.
Yeah, the barn will be a little cleaner for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So that's those are the differences between the collector and the old Discovery, was that question. When I originally saw the question, I thought maybe it was what is different about the collector and other manure cleaning solutions than the vacuum, to which then I would say the difference is, so we just talked about the collector compared to our own Discovery, compared to anything else you're going to find on the market. The big difference, other than the fact that it's vacuum based, is that this is what Lely calls an AGV, an autonomously guided vehicle. So this machine drives around the barn, does have a route programmed in it so that it has an idea of where it's trying to go. But the whole time it's navigating the barn. It's using ultrasound signals to look at its surroundings, to look at the walls in the barn and the barriers, and to navigate without any additional navigation aids in the form of magnets or the form of strips. This thing just drives on its own. I think that's something that sets the collector apart from everything else.
Another question that has come in is how much water gets added in a day or two, in a day or per cow. Really good question. Bob, I'm not don't want to put you on the hot seat here, but how would you address that?
You know, obviously there's varying flow rates and you can adjust that. And there's times of the year when you can turn the water right off. We are in New York, remember? You know, will it add water? Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we found is that we really do, especially during the summer months, we want to keep that floor moist so that it doesn't get a slime on it. And you know, in terms of the overall volume of water, I'm going to guess 30, 40 gallons a day. Joel, would you know? I really don't know the answer.
Yeah, you know, the bladder can hold about that much. And it depends, like you say,
okay.
Here also depends on bedding type, right?
Right.
Depends, do we have misters? You know, all those things kind of depend. But yes, we are adding some water because we can. It doesn't always mean that we should, you know, if we have all these other things going on. And even in the wintertime, you know, when you're on a mechanically ventilated building with, you got everything shut up. You got your fans shut off other than the ones that keep the air moving. To your point, I think you said it early on in the conversation, Bob, that the water probably turned off because we probably have enough liquid on the floor anyway, right?
Right.
So there's certain times of the year that we're not using that. So it kind of depends on a per case basis and how much water can we use or should we use on it, and then what kind of barn is it? Is it a natural vent? Is it a mechanical vent? There's a lot of different ways to look at that.
I think the question was how much water gets added per cow per day. Yeah, and I would answer that just like you guys said. The range is 0 to maybe 8 liters per cow per day. Can handle 90 cows. It'll give you 720 liters a day. It's more on the high end of what it could spray if we fill the bags every route and we spray them every route. Now, guys, I kind of jumped ahead in our order here to my convenient operation visual aid. The reason I wanted to bring this up, guys, is just like you were saying, Bob, you can change that amount of water that's being sprayed, and customers can actually control that per route or per step within the route.
Yep.
So do you find that your customers end up finessing how much water is being sprayed to be able to deal with their bedding but not have using any more water than they have to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's, it's always, especially the larger the farm, any farm, if they have a manure pit, then they're worried about that. That becomes a factor. That the time savings that are saved in labor will easily take care of that extra truckload or 2 truckloads you got to haul out once a year to get rid of that water. I do, and I do see guys that, seasonality, they will change that amount. In the winter, there's nothing. And then there's times in the summer where the floor is starting to dry out and they'll jack it way up. And then, some of it factors into the production of the farm. I mean, high producing cows tend to create more liquid manure.
Yeah.
And you don't need as much water. So it really does come down to a farm, each farm is going to be a little bit different probably.
I think that's well put, Bob. It comes down to how liquid is the floor on its own, how much bedding is coming into that, and when it's winter time in your neck of the woods, the barn is naturally moist enough, wet enough for the collector to amalgamate the bedding without adding any extra water.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the time you need more water is during the summer, which in our neck of the woods, it's always, do I have enough storage from the last day I spread in the fall until the first day I spread in the spring? So it is kind of fortunate that our highest water usage is through the summer.
Yep. Okay, we got some more questions. Here's a good one. If it sucks up shavings or feed, does it get clogged easily?
I haven't seen that happen very much. Now, I would say that long straw or something like that would be a problem. But shavings, I haven't seen any. I haven't heard of any problems with that.
So that's and that's right. It's we've seen about everything, but so there's a pretty small orifice that all that manure gets pulled up into from that low pressure created by the vacuum that we're trying to get the material to pull in there. But when we go to the dump station in order to release all that manure or that material that we picked up, it's only releasing the vacuum. So everything that we pull back up has to go back through that orifice. So anything that's greater than 2 to 3, maybe 4 centimeters, a half inch, 3/4 inch is, and below that is pretty acceptable. We're going to get most of that out of there. If it's above that, that's where we have troubles getting, I think, that stuff to come back out. And that's all the different kinds of materials, whether that's sand that we can do, wood shavings, newspaper. There's all kinds of different things as long as it kind of meets that size criteria. In my opinion, I don't know what you think about.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. The only thing I've seen problems with is cow cleanings.
Yeah.
They do that. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. It
Political
will suck that up.
Yeah, yeah, and it doesn't always come out easy.
Yeah, so I think we covered the bedding material, sand, power. Power is just really only 110, 120, right? Because all we're doing is charging a battery.
Yep.
Well, we have ambitions to cover details of the installation. I say it's a compact installation, but in addition to the size requirements, the power and water requirements are important too to the producers. So, Bob, this picture, both these pictures are projects of yours, right?
Lamar Farm, yeah, they look familiar to me, anyways. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. What did these guys need? So we look at that one on the left. It's the C2, the newest version with the wireless charging. What did the farmer need to provide to set that collector up?
Yeah, well, this was a little bit of it was a new barn construction, so we obviously had the perfect scenario to do the installation. And yeah, we just, when we spec'd it out, we had a water line that feeds that header tank, and that becomes the water fill for it. And
so
then
it fills the collector from that header tank. So your water line, I'm guessing, doesn't have to be high flow.
No. We're trying not to. Yeah, it's just a pretty small line actually going in because it's got plenty of time to fill. And then the electric power, I think it's a 30 amp breaker we're putting it on, and it's 110 volts, and it just, it just charges.
Yeah. So then to go beyond that is from another question that we have is energy consumption. I believe that with the C2 now we are, which is the second generation. We're in the second generation of collectors because of the charge, the battery and the charging. But I think we're at 2 or 2.5 kilowatts a day. I think on each collector. So pretty cheap when you consider that versus fuel and labor to run a skid steer.
2.5 to 3 is our number.
So pretty close to it, right on. So but all the other methods cost a lot more to operate than from an energy standpoint than the collector, which is not to go down another rabbit hole, but there are questions that we have to come up now and then about carbon offset, and having something that runs like this that is a lot cheaper than a fossil fuel type of situation. We can help with grant applications with that because we're using so much less electricity to do that with.
I think the power requirements. One, it's not using much, so it doesn't cost very much, and it's not producing it doesn't have a very large carbon footprint. So if you're cleaning today with something with a diesel engine, tractor or a skid steer, done it many times, works, but we certainly are offering something that is going to consume less diesel. There's no two ways about that. And then besides the cost and the impact of it, like Bob, you're saying it's not a huge cost on the farmer's behalf to get a water line and power there because it's not high amperage, it's not high power draw, and it's not a big water line. So I think that is something that we have that kind of ties into our flexibility on barn design too. Any manure that gets picked up by this thing has to end up back in a spot where the machine can dump. So we talk about flexibility in barn design, which is kind of two-folded. One in the way that the machine can navigate, and also in the way that what it requires for space and power and water to be installed. Bob, I really would like to hear your perspective on how does the collector expand the world or not of barn design. I don't want to be leading the witnesses. What's the impact of the Collector 120 on how you go about designing a barn with your customer, or go about helping your customer make those decisions?
Yeah, so I guess anybody that knows me knows that I'm a cow guy, and I'm a labor efficiency guy. Like, those are two things that are, first and foremost on any of my designs. And one of the things that historically we've always done is we need to have a straight alley that you drive in one end and out the other end in a freestyle barn. It makes cleaning easy, it's quick, efficient, all those things. The challenge with that is that really limits your ability to where you're going to locate, milking robots or sort gates or any of that equipment, because you don't want to block that alleyway. And the beauty of the Collector is that it will navigate through that maze of stuff in the middle to get to the other end. And that's just programming, and it really opens it up so that now, you can maximize the labor efficiency of that barn without sacrificing manure efficiency, because really you eliminate the hand scraping. And from a labor standpoint, I don't know, but I haven't found too many workers that I've come across that really enjoy scraping manure with a shovel.
Maybe the guy in the road truck likes selling the shovels, but
yeah,
I'm sure you're happy to sell less shovels and actually make an impact so that people can spend less time using their shovel. Bob, you just mentioned it's nobody's favorite job, or not very many people's favorite job. Does that have an impact for your, especially in your larger farms, where maybe it's not the proprietor who's doing that work himself? Might be somebody that is working on his team.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're, at the end of the day, it's a messy job. If you're scraping with a scraper, pushing manure down, whether it's from the ends of the barn down with where an alley scraper picks it up, that's never a fun job. And I haven't come across anybody that says, "Oh, I love doing that." So, from an employee standpoint, that's beneficial. And from a time management standpoint, that's beneficial, because now you have that employee available for other things. And, I would challenge people on the call, actually take a stopwatch and see how much time you're spending just pushing manure around the barn.
Mm-hmm.
And
does that ever add up to much time, or
it does. It can add up to a huge amount of time. It's one of those things that you just do it, you don't think about it. But when you actually factor in the time, especially if you're paying people to do that, that can add up to some pretty big numbers. And the benefits, just from an employee welfare standpoint, are huge when they don't have to do that. It's a noticeable improvement in their work quality of work. So
spend less time. Spend maybe hours less per day.
Yeah. I mean, on a large farm, it will save hours a day.
So it can free up time for those employees to do something else, and also make the job maybe more enjoyable, which is always the result that we're looking for, right? At Lely, we want a profitable, sustainable, enjoyable future for farmers and their team. I think it's a big difference between the Collector and conventional cleaning systems. So we're looking at,
well, on top of that is a purpose-built barn with purpose-built equipment going in there in an autonomous way, like we talked about early. We're in an environment, right, where we're trying not to interrupt cow flow. So, there's times that we have to go in and do things with cow touches or being in with the cows when it's not necessary by interrupting cow flow that might be going to the robot. Those are some things that we are hard to factor in, but we know has a has an impact on cow behavior.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the best barns run when there's less humans involved.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have, oh no, there was a question here, but it was about machine learning, not cow learning. I don't see the question of how cows adjust to it. How do you find cows adjust to it, Bob? You go install one of these in a barn. They've never seen one before. Turn it on day one. Cows run around, or what's?
No, I haven't found. I thought that's what would happen. I mean, I am a cow guy, and I was worried about it. So I thought that's exactly what I thought would happen. Was cows are going to all run to the end of the barn, and they're going to chase around. And I haven't found that to be true. We start them up, and cows will do just what that cow's doing. She's got to sniff it, and lick it, and walk around it. And there'll be plenty of that going on, but they. After a day or two of that, then it's just normal again. I mean, cows typically are easier to train than people. So,
not typically, I think all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was being polite, Joel.
Yeah. Well, and this one kind of ties in a little bit to exactly that. So I've got cow comfort and behavior. So, but also optimal cleaning zones. The two are together. Right, because this machine doesn't clean the whole alley at once, that contributes to cow comfort and natural behavior because they can walk around it. They're not going to have to go to the to the end of the alley and go over the crossover. They can just go around it. But on top of that, that means that we can clean not the whole alley the same amount of times. So we're in a robotic milking barn. We're not milking all the cows the same number of times, right? And we don't need to clean everywhere in the barn the same number of times, because the reason I chose this particular picture is we can see the collector going behind free stalls. That's a place that we have to clean a lot. Meanwhile, we see cows standing, just like you said, Bob, at the feed front, doing what we like to see, eating food, right? Filling their bellies. And here their alley's getting cleaned and they're not being disturbed.
Yeah. Yep. That's what we see.
How often do you usually, maybe in this exact example, you've got cows, you've got kind of an area where the cows stand to eat, and then you have an area behind the free stalls. Do you clean behind the free stalls more often than in front of the feed front?
Oh yeah, double the amount. Yep.
So
yeah, because there's hardly any manure up by the feed front. It doesn't need clean nearly as often, and it's a disturbance point, because there will be, hopefully there's always some cows that are eating, and but really there's not a ton of manure there, so you don't need to clean it that often. By the free stalls, though, absolutely.
Yeah. Versus when we have, I don't know if I dare show that. We have a blade going all the way across the alley. At some point, they have to cross it.
Right.
Right. And so if they're new, they've never seen one before, they might go the other way, like we were talking about. Once they get used to it, they're pretty fine. They go over the scrapers, no problem. To do that, though, they're going to walk through what we call the wave. And maybe Joel, I will ask, and Bob, both of you, like, how have you guys noticed that switching from the picture we see on the left to the picture we see on the right, how does that contribute to health outcomes for the cows?
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if I have a true metric measure for it, but I'm pretty confident that cleaner cows are healthier cows. I do see less hoof issues for sure with a cleaner floor. I mean, if there's one thing that I've had many people tell me is that their hoof trimmers are saying that the cow's hooves are a lot harder. I've heard that multiple times. And just in general, a cleaner cow is going to be a healthier cow.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I mean, when you showed the picture of the wave, I mean, you've got manure that's up over the ankle, up over the dew claw, ends up being drug into the cubicle or under the mattress, into the sand. When they go to lay down, can end up on the teat ends. We're definitely seeing an impact on that. Can we firmly say that we're having a big impact on this kind of mastitis or that kind of disease? I don't know. I think we're doing some research on that as we speak. But what you just said, Bob, I think a cleaner cow is definitely healthier in a lot of respects, and it definitely see a lot less of maybe some of those environmental things that we had seen in barns, right?
Yeah. So, you just don't have stagnant manure.
Yeah.
And less flies. I do notice less flies on a robot barn or collector barn.
That's going to lower the amount of stress that the cows are feeling.
Absolutely.
Added stress to their life.
Yep.
But in addition to that, like what you guys are saying is exactly the same feedback I get up here in Canada. We hear anecdotally, the hoof trimmer gives positive feedback. The hoof trimmer says like you say, they're harder, or I have fewer major issues to resolve because of that. But we also see that because the feet are clean because the floor is clean. So they're going to track less manure into the free stalls.
Yeah.
So then that's a better environment for their udder. But a lot of operations today don't have exactly at their fingertips all the numbers of the before and the after. And there's a lot of other factors that are also contributing to these issues. So it can be hard to separate out to make a concrete. This is what we see every time. But I've never spoke with a customer who installed a collector who didn't have positive things to say about foot health, hoof health. And in an automated milking barn, in a robot milking barn, mobility really makes it sing. So
I think one other thing that I see, we've got a few that are on non-robotic farms, so no milking robots to conventional parlors. And one advantage that I guess I had never thought of until we actually experienced it was that when you take that group of cows to the parlor, if you time your routes right, those cows come back from the parlor. That's where they're most susceptible. They come back from the parlor to a perfectly clean floor.
Right.
And that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that really is a big deal.
I mean, it's embarrassing that I hadn't thought of that one until we actually did it, but that's what the farmer's telling me. He's like, yeah, it's great because the cows all come back and the floor is spotless, with those open teat ends, right? They're coming back from the parlor. Yeah. So it's that we got to believe there's benefits there.
Yeah. Cool. A couple more questions to get out of the way here. That came in gray is somebody was asking about what do they weigh? What do the collector
871 pounds, 395 kgs.
Empty. That's the empty weight. What's the full weight?
Yeah.
The full weight, I think, is just shy of 1,700 pounds.
Yep. Okay, yeah, because they're going to hold 70 gallons worth of manure. Yep. Yeah. So interesting question. I hadn't thought about what do they weigh either. But they weigh enough that a cow is not going to just move it out of the way. Yeah, that's certainly what we've seen. I've seen these things go through bullpens where, you don't see a bullpen every farm, but sometimes they still do. And you would think if there was going to be a problem with an interaction between that machine and an animal, would be in that bullpen. They hadn't experienced any problems.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yep.
Another question, and it relates back to, I think, a comment we made 10 minutes ago or so, but U.S. studies or reports showing fuel savings from diesel to one of these electric robots. I'm not aware of any studies per se or that, but we do have the ability to run some numbers through an ROI analysis. And with all we obviously know how many kilowatt hours a day that our system is running. And I think you said it really well, Bob, here a little while ago of, you really have to take an honest look at what your labor situation is and what you're doing on the farm and what that equipment's costing you. When you want to actually know what an ROI looks like is, from the time you like turn on a skid steer till you turn it off, we have to factor in that time and that amount of fuel. So whoever put that question in, I would challenge you to, find out what that is. And then knowing that it's a 2.5 or 3 kilowatt hours a day at whatever cents a kilowatt, there's your difference. You know what that difference is going to be.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Okay. What else you got, Gray? What haven't we covered yet? I think there's a question on machine learning training. I think we kind of talked about that, but maybe you want to address.
One thing I wanted to bring up to pick Bob's brain is, so I was asking questions about how does it free up barn design, and you mentioned that, okay, now we don't have the constraint of having two full, or having every alley be full length and continue through past the robots. But what I was going to ask was, what are the differences for construction? Sorry, I was looking through all the stuff I have. Have you seen any opportunities to save money by going with collectors in terms of, we don't need a chain groove or a guide going down the alley either that needs to be formed, right? We don't need to port the crossovers higher. We don't need extra room at the end. Have you seen that any of those things lower costs when building a new facility specifically for collectors?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people would ask me, what's the gold standard for how to handle manure in a barn, and if I went back in time, I would, my default answer to that was Keystone tubes with a drop down the center, so you eliminate that wave, and and then obviously some kind of reception pit. Either in the center of the barn, depending on the length of the barn, but somewhere is in the pit. You have a reception pit of some sort, and then you pump it to a lagoon, and that's kind of what we had always done. And then I had a farm challenge me on that because I had recommended Keystone tubes to them, and he said, "Well, how about collectors? What does that look like?" And when we costed it all out, it was actually cheaper to do the collectors than it was to put in the Keystone tubes. So I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. And now as time's evolved, we're really down to, we can drop these things into a pipe, right? And get that out of the barn and take it to the pit. And take it to the lagoon. And there is no reception pits. There is, minimal construction costs that go with this. Mm-hmm. So, you talk about pouring a manure pit that'll handle, even a week's worth of storage, you're talking some pretty big dollars. And if you can get that right to the lagoon without ever touching a secondary pit, that's a pretty big savings. So yeah, we see them, and I still to this day have people trying to, find ways to do it even more economically. So it's, I think there is some real savings there. Some of it's going to depend on your layout and elevations of your site, but there's definitely opportunities there. Awesome.
That's cool. Good to know. Hey, we got a couple more questions. We're closing in on the end here.
Yep.
So how many collectors?
We'll switch to question time.
Yeah. How many collectors do you need to service your barn? How many square feet can each collector cover? So one of us can handle that, I'm sure.
I know what I would say. What do you tell customers?
So what I would say, I mean, there's a little bit of engineering that goes into this, right? So we're pretty particular about calculating out the routes and the plan of how we're going to lay out collectors in somebody's barn.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we're not under capacity, because that's a really bad problem to find out afterward. So we don't use default numbers, right? We're gonna, in our case, and I think every dealership is probably or should be doing the same exact thing. They should be running the calculations to come up with that answer, because for every barn, it's a little bit different. And sometimes that little bit difference means you need 2 instead of 1, or it means you need 1 instead of 2. And you don't know that until you go through the actual exercise of calculating it out and doing it. So that's how we handle it here. It's a scientific process. So
yes. So you have a tool that you can actually, if you see somebody's layout, you can predict how many hours per day the machine's going to have to drive.
Yep.
What percentage of its capacity it's running at. So your answer is best to look at each case.
Yeah. We don't give numbers until we've done that, because there's surprises. You think
Yes,
it's
exactly.
going to be close, but it should be able to do it. And those are the times when you get caught.
And it doesn't cost anybody anything to investigate that.
Correct.
To go through that the capacity calculator to get to those points, it doesn't cost anything to do that and to find out exactly what your need is and what your requirement is. So
right. I'll frequently ask guys for just send me a sketch of the drawing with accurate widths and lengths of your alleys, and then we can calculate it.
Yeah. And I've even seen the production of the cows come into it too, right? Because
oh, absolutely, yeah.
I heard, I'll out myself as the Canadian here. I heard at 40 liters is going to produce different amount of manure from a herd at 35 liters even, right? They're eating more.
Sure.
And they're going to,
yeah, of course.
More is going to come out the other end. It doesn't go nowhere. It doesn't all go to milk. So the production of the cows.
I don't mean to cut you off, Greg. We got one more question that I think is important that we get kind of talked about before we get to the end, and it's maintenance requirements. I was waiting for somebody to ask something about maintenance, and we're leaning pretty heavily about it. And I'm so glad you're on this call, because us as the OEM, as a manufacturer, we might have a different answer than what you who have sold a bunch of these would say. But from a maintenance requirement side, what would you tell a prospect or somebody that you're working with about that?
Yeah, from an actual downtime standpoint, there's not that much. We don't really experience a lot of that. So it truly comes down to maintenance. And, there's wear items on there, the squeegee in the front and some of the connectors that get a lot of rubbing on concrete. They certainly have a lifespan. And tires would be another thing, the thing's moving all the time. So no different than your car. You have to put tires on it once in a while.
It's amazing how many miles they drive in a day, that these collectors drive in a day, in a week, in a month.
Yeah. They're doing a lot of moving. And then, the daily maintenance or every other day kind of thing, where you're cleaning it, right? You hose out the bag, hose out the where the manure is collected, just clean that and clean the ultrasounds. That's done, pretty routinely, and we teach people to do that pretty routinely. That's you're going to get the best results when it can see what it's doing. But overall, we haven't had many issues with the maintenance side of it. Yeah. Obviously it's, there's wear parts in there and there's moving parts. So, there's going to be some, but we haven't found it to be overly taxing.
And I think, you talked about maybe a daily routine, maybe maybe it's not maintenance, but it's a standard operating procedure. Are you telling folks once a day to look at their ultrasounds and clean off their ultrasounds for best uptime?
Yeah. I mean, the reality of it is we tell them once a day and hoping that they do it every other day. But yeah, no, that is, we do want, there is a piece of it that the farmer needs to play a role in, or somebody on that farm needs to play a role in. And the amount of time spent doing maintenance is significantly less than the amount of time if you had to scrape the barn.
Amen.
So
Cool. Well, Gray, I think we're at an hour. I know we started a little bit late, but we don't want to go over a lot of time.
Yep, I think that, it'd be easy to keep talking for another hour about the collector, but I really appreciate you joining us, Bob, and you joining me, Joel, to discuss the collector. Really is a great machine that changes how we can design barns, how we can make them better for the cows who live there and the producers who run it and the people who work there every day too, and even make it better for the people who supply the equipment for these barns too. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge with everybody who chose to watch, and thank everybody who tuned in.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
And,
Great being here with you all. Thank you.
all right. So that has been episode 6. Thanks so much for tuning in, and please check out episode 7, last episode of the year. Bye.